It is officially July, and your garden suddenly started acting a little bit funny. Plants started growing slower, leaves started turning yellow. Now, before you panic, you're not a bad gardener. This is actually completely normal. Your garden fundamentally changes in July due to a number of different factors. Unfortunately, the daylight length is beginning to change. It's becoming shorter. Your nighttime temps are higher than what they were in June, and your daytime temps, typically speaking, are also much higher as well. Now, there are ways you can fundamentally cause the wrong things to happen by reacting to these changes. So today's video, I'm going to go through all the different changes your garden will experience in July and how you should actually react to them, if at all, just to help ensure that your garden continues onwards. Now, the first issue I see most commonly with tomatoes, and I hear the complaints from people with tomatoes, and that is that the tomato plants tend to stop growing. We just experienced basically from March or April, depending on when you decide to actually plant your tomatoes, to today, really rapid expansion of stems, leaves, the plant itself, runners, you get the idea. And now suddenly it seems like they've stopped. And there's a reason for this. We don't actually want more leaves and we don't actually want more stems. This is oftentimes why people think if you remove stems and leaves and all that sort of jazz, that you will end up with higher yields. Now, that's not the truth. I did a whole video on why that's not the truth, so go check that out. But needless to say, the solution here is not fertilizer and actually forcing that growth. The priorities of this plant have changed. They are focusing all their carbohydrate production, which is the byproduct of photosynthesis, into fruits and flowers, which is where we want it directed to. So rather than panicking, just continue with your regular fertilizing regimen, if any at all, and leave things be. More nitrogen is actually going to cause more problems, and it's going to confuse the plant. We don't want that at this point. We want to just make sure everything's watered, happy, and healthy, and we want it to focus on what it's truly trying to focus on, which is fruits and flower. Part two is actually the heat itself, changing how the plant decides to allocate its energy overall. Now, here's the thing. We oftentimes will see things like wilted squash leaves. Maybe we see really stressed out, sunburned brassica species. We see lettuce beginning to bolt. We see tomatoes beginning to slow down. You get the idea. Now, this is all caused by excessive heat. And so what tends to happen is in the heat of the day, if it is too warm, the plant won't actually do anything. It just kind of goes into like a dormancy mode for however many hours that applies to. Now, there are ways you can counter this. You can counter this with things like shade cloth. You can counter this with things like one too many trees in your backyard. You can use low tunnels with shade cloth. You kind of get the idea here. Now, I have way too much infrastructure in my yard to be shade clothing everything, but I will say with absolute certainty, things like my tomatoes, for example, not so much last year, but years prior, was getting a little bit too much sun. Never had this issue before. The sun's never been too intense. And I noticed sun scalding, stress, and heat-related issues. So needless to say, I need to keep my eye on that section of the garden because if anyone deserves actually shade other than a ginger, it would be those tomato plants that are in incredibly hot conditions. Now, ways you can keep the roots and kind of the lower biomass nice and cool is via things like mulch. But regardless of that, become well acquainted with being able to identify excessive heat and excessive light signaling, because that is something that you need to counter, and you can't counter it with fertilizer or water or anything like that. I'm going to do a video just on fertilizing in hot conditions because that's a beast unto its own if you choose to go that route. But I would actually focus on keeping the soil cold and keeping the plants cool themselves. Sunburn, wilting during midday, stunted growth, curling leaves, cupping leaves, bolting, all signs again of heat stress or excessive sun. Now here's something that applies beyond gardening. The reason why gardening can be incredibly confusing at times when you're trying to do it from a science-based perspective is the fact that we've grown up to realize that we need to memorize everything. We don't understand the concepts as a whole or as a broad concept to be able to then, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, extrapolate that information and apply it to your garden. So rather than memorizing the rules, the best way to actually look at the world around you is understanding why the rules exist, if you will. And that's why I'm sponsoring with Brilliant once again. Brilliant is designed for students grade 5 all the way to college years. And I actually know this for a fact because many people in the Geek Crew actually have purchased Brilliant for their kids and said they absolutely have loved and adored it. Now they have something new. It's the AI tutor called Koji. And I used to have to sit at a kitchen table at some random woman's house learning organic chemistry and algebra to be able to get this exact experience. Instead, now there's AI and there's Koji. So Koji actually sits down and tutors people on how to get to the answer rather than just giving it to you. Now, here's the crazy part. Koji actually interacts with you as you're working. As someone who has based their entire career on trying to figure out things and why they work, not simply memorizing and regurgitating, because let's face it, if I did that, I wouldn't have a career. Koji is absolutely the right step in the correct direction because, like I said, my parents paid for a tutor all through high school just to help me out. And this is a heck of a lot cheaper than she was. So if you have a child, a grandchild, ages grade 5 up until college, maybe just a genuinely nerdy adult child such as myself, check out the link below or scan the QR code that is on the screen. That will allow you to try Brilliant's tutor for absolutely free. You can upgrade to premium and unlock even more features, and currently Gardening in Canada Geek Crew folk can save up to 20% off an annual subscription. Brilliant, thank you as always for sponsoring this channel. I feel like we have very similar nerdy interests. And with that being said, let's get back into July and why it's a darn pain in the butt for your garden. Next up is actually yellowing leaves. So let me show you something here. These are giant yellowing leaves. And most people freak out and think, okay, it's time to fertilize and overreact because these leaves are yellow. Now, here's the truth of the matter. July, you're going to start seeing a lot of yellow leaves. I did a whole video. I just launched it here very recently. So if you just scroll back not even that far, you will find it, where I kind of go in the ins and outs of yellow leaves, when to react, when to not react, etc., and so forth. And what I can say with absolute confidence, and to sum it up in very basic, easy terms, is that if your lower leaves are turning yellow in July, that is completely normal. They have served their duty to photosynthesis, and they very simply have just started to die off. And this is simply due to age. So just like humans, leaves themselves will die off. If they're at the bottom of the plant, don't overreact. If they are anywhere else on the plant or throughout the entire plant, check out that video I did because that's going to be incredibly helpful in this case. Now, I actually have a video coming out later this week about this exact concept, but wilting of leaves midday is very common. Now, I don't have it right now because we don't really have heat. This is the only really hot day we've had in a really long time, and it's not really that hot. It's only like 22 degrees Celsius, which is room temperature. But I digress. Squash, cucumbers, that sort of thing are very common for this because they have these giant leaves. Like I said, I have a video coming out later this week, so hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss it. But I actually go into the ins and outs of why that happens, the plant science behind it, how to prevent it, if it actually affects your yields, etc., and so forth. What I want you to focus on for this video, and just high level, is that when you look at a plant and you're determining whether or not to react to that wilted leaf, you need to simply look at that plant leaf the next morning. So if things are wilted, rather than going in with a ton of water, a ton of fertilizer, or however you're going to react to it, instead take a step back, go visit it the next morning. If it is wilted first thing in the morning before kind of high noon, that is your sign that it probably needs water or that something is wrong. Maybe you have a cucumber beetle, a vine borer, or something to that effect, and then you do need to react. Until then, don't overreact because you starting to kind of pull leaves off and look at things can cause more damage than good, particularly if we're talking about removing really healthy leaves. Like I just did that video on squash pruning and how to prune for higher yields. And in that I had mentioned, removal of some of these good guys is not beneficial in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Now, the next one, again, I haven't experienced yet because it's not warm enough, but huge, ginormous fruit. So something you're going to experience is really big cucumbers, really big zucchinis, ginormous beans, all that sort of stuff. And it's really cool. And it's Instagram worthy. And it looks neat when you take the photo because it makes you look like an absolute all-star when it comes to gardening. But out of everything I mentioned today, that is hands down probably one of the most detrimental things to your yield. Your plant is only focused on reproducing. And if it can reproduce with the least amount of energy output, it's going to. Which means that if you leave larger sized plants in place, which means if you leave larger sized fruits in place, like the zucchinis, the cucumbers, the peppers, the beans, the squash, you get the idea, you end up with problems. So once something is ready to harvest, please go in and harvest it. You will thank yourself later, particularly if you're doing this to help with the grocery bill. It's not so much vanity metrics that we're aiming for, but for actually feeding ourselves, then please do cut those plants down. Now, if we're going for biggest pumpkin, biggest zucchini, biggest something or other, then actually remove everything except for the giant one, because that's exactly what you need to do to ensure you get that big jumbo-sized one. Now, with that being said, you guys have to let me know of things that you're experiencing. Now, with that being said, Geek Tree, please let me know in the comments down below what you're experiencing in your garden in July. Anything new this year or something that's come up in the past that's now come up again. I'd love to know. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.